One thing I wanted to talk about before that is just a little preamble on what Express.js is, just to give you some context. So it's basically just a really cool framework that the Node community has adopted as its like go-to. It's definitely by far the most popular one. It was built on something called Connect that's no longer alive, but at the time, like it basically came out around the time that Node.js did. So it was just like the de facto framework for building APIs with Node. It's synonymous with things like Django for Python or Sinatra for Ruby or Spring for Java or Gin for Go. It's literally the same thing. I mean, they all do something very differently, but that's basically what it is. And like I said earlier, there are other frameworks out there that are faster, newer, better. But at the end of the day, like everyone respects Express. It's not going anywhere. Typically, everything's built off of it anyway. And yeah, you really can't go wrong with Express. If you're at the point where like Express is just like the difference between your company making $1 million more a month and not, then you got different problems. So like, but for most people, this isn't the problem. So we'll be using Express. And again, it's also the one that I know the most. So I want to make sure you get some deep knowledge out of this. Okay, let's do it. Let's install Express and let's make a server. So what I'm going to do is go over to our app here. Well, I'm going to go to our terminal. I'm going to install Express. So I can say npm install express -- save. Okay, that's going to install Express. We'll have more dependencies we have to install, but we'll do them as we need them, instead of doing them all at once. So we have Express installed. I'm going to go back to our code here, and I'm just going to start organizing some things a little better. So I'm going to make a new file here, and I'm going to call this file server.js. And inside of server.js is where I'm actually going to do the Express stuff. So I'm going to say const express equals require express. Gonna bring that in. And then I need to actually make the API. And the way you could do that is typically what people do is they'll say something like app equals express like this. And this will make the API. It doesn't do anything yet. But just like I told you before, a server is synonymous with an API, and an API is just an app that doesn't have a visual thing. So here's our app, here's our API. And then to kind of make it the same with what we did here, where we can respond to a GET request to slash, we want to do the same thing. So inside of our server, the way this works with Express is I can say app dot, and then the verb, the method that I want to respond to in lowercase, so in this case, get. So I want to respond to a GET request with the route of slash. And when that happens, I want to run this function. And this function takes the same arguments, a request and a response. Same thing like before. I can log in here. Hello from Express. And the sweet thing about this is that Express actually adds some pretty cool utility methods and things on the request object and the response object that makes it easier for us to do stuff. So here I can actually say res.status 200, and then I can say res.send. Actually, I can say res.json, so I can send back some JSON, and I'll put an object here that has like message, hello. So I can do that. So status codes are basically 3-digit numbers that are exactly what they sound like. They, depending on what the number, it lets clients know what the status of the request was. Typically anything between 200 and 300 is a successful status. 400s are typically reserved for user error based statuses like wrong password, wrong email, you messed up, user. And then 500 status codes are typically reserved for server-based errors, as in like, oh, our server messed up. You're gonna get some 500 code. So that's how status codes work. Again, you don't have to use them. Some people don't. Some designs like GraphQL don't even care about status codes. Like, so it really just depends on how you're consuming it and who your users are. But for HTTP, that's how it was designed. And most clients typically do different things based off the status codes. Like Google Chrome will spit an error out in the console if the status code was in the 4 or 5. But if you sent back an error that had a status code of 200, Google wouldn't know that that was an error because it didn't know, because the status code wasn't. So sometimes you still want to respect the rules of the internet, even though they seem outdated, because there's so many things relying on those rules. Okay, so we got that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to export default, or not export, but module.exports the app like that. Just going to export it on out. And I'm going to go into our index, and I'm just going to just wipe this whole thing out. I don't want it anymore. We're done. We're never going back to that. And I'm just going to bring in our app like that. So we have our app. And I'm just going to say app.listen. I'm going to give it the same port that I have. Mine was 3001. Yours could have been different. It could be whatever number that's not currently being used on your computer. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to log. Hello. There we go. So now let's start our server and let's try to get a message. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to go to our terminal. I'm going to say node source index, just like we did before. I'm going to run that, and I should get my log, hello, on localhost 3001, which is my port. I'm going to go to that in the browser, and I get back a message, hello, in JSON. So yours might not look like this. I have a Chrome extension called JSON Viewer that allows my JSON to look like this. If you don't have that Chrome extension, it'll just be like, it'll look really bad, but it's okay if it looks bad, but it should still say whatever message you sent back. If you don't have this message, if whatever reason, then what you want to do is, obviously check your code, but what you want to do is go look at the terminal and see if there's any errors there. See if there was something that you may or may not have done. And that's where the errors are going to print. They're going to print in the terminal here for your server. They're not going to print in the console in Google Chrome. Yeah, I mean, some of the things that were abstracted away was I think the most important thing was the logic of writing that if statement of like, well, if it's this and it's this URL, then do this. Like, that's just done for us automatically, very expressively and declaratively, versus like having 1,000 if statements, creating your own router, which would be terrible. So in the example that I have here, though, I'm actually like sending back like an HTML file. If you're feeling, fancy, you can do that. But you can send back whatever you want. I sent back JSON in the live coding example that I just did. I can send back text. I can send back an image. A server can send back. I mean, think of anything you've ever seen on a website before, or a mobile app, or a video game. A server can send that back. So there's no limit to, if it's a file, it can be sent. If it's data, it can be sent. There's no limit to it. It just depends on what the client does with that information. So yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you want.